everybody, and of course welcome to this first Field of Glory 2 Rise and Fall of Carthage tournament overview. In the next couple of videos I'm going to be analysing the next 5 rounds of the Field of Glory 2 tournament. This is October 2020 relevance, and yeah, we're going to be looking at all the armies, talking about tactics, looking about what ifs. Please comment below if you disagree or you agree. So we got the Carthaginian versus Syracusan force, so two forces that are close to my heart. I'm a massive fan of Field of Glory 2, and also the Carthaginian kind of defiance against Rome. Very interesting, but this list is slightly out of my comfort zone, sitting here looking at the benefits. So like I said, we're going to be looking in the next 5 videos, the next 5 rounds, but also when the tournament starts, we're going to be carrying on this hype with the deployment, and I'm going to show you that, but also I'm going to do my own recording on my own channel to give everybody an overview of the battle completely. So we got the Carthaginian versus Syracusan forces. So we're going to look at these different factions, what will benefit, what will not. But remember, hitting that like, hitting that subscribe button, and also coming back for more. So I've got to say, these two armies are very, very different. The Carthaginian list, we're going to start from the bottom and just have a bit of a conversation about what I would choose, why I would choose it, where would I deploy it. So looking straight at the top of the list here, the Carthaginian list, I've got to say, lacks cavalry. Massive fan of chariots, that I've used chariots before in other nations. So we're going to look at the top list here. We've got the veteran armoured cavalry. So a couple of things right there. Cavalry, it's fast, it's manoeuvrable, it's armoured, it's superior. Unfortunately, light spear, actually it's not unfortunate, there's quite a good POAs there against non-speared infantry, but POAs for the swordsman as well. A brilliant unit there, but unfortunately just very small. Only 1 unit of veteran cavalry, but remember it's worth 60 points, and that's a lot of points to take off, but I think I would actually choose that. So looking down here, we're coming to the heavy chariots. So heavy chariots are really good, and I with a couple of my Greek lists I've played recently, the heavy chariots are worth having, even if you are using them to do anti-cavalry action or anti-light action. Be careful of course the rough terrain, because that chariot disordered will not fight as well. So that in combination with the veteran armoured unit, setting up flanks, because remember the normal cavalry will evade. So as you can see, yeah, it's pretty good. It is pretty good, and it's got a good couple of units here. So we do have the veteran unit, but also a choice of the armoured cavalry. So it's not protected, armoured, but it's an average quality. I believe superior troops are amazing in this game, and you pay for what you pay for. If you pay for cheap, you will get cheap. So as we come down, so we've got a good selection, but I think I would have liked more cavalry units. This could be a interesting bout against the Syracusan list. So as you can see, we come down to the heavy artillery. Not a fan of heavy artillery in my opinion. It's a mobile. It can drop cohesion of some larger units, but if the enemy opponent doesn't have them units, it could be a wasted 36 points where you could particularly have something a lot more mobile and a lot more useful. So we've got a good selection of cavalry, but I wish it was more, because I feel the chariots can do some anti-cavalry action, but not as well. And we've got what we can have 5 units in total, which I think would only ever choose 4 for the point cost, because chariots are 52 points. They're not the most expensive unit point in this list, but they are expensive. So the backbone of the Carthaginian army, the veteran African spearmen, offensive spearmen, the POA plus 100 there, are armoured, superior, heavy foot. Only disadvantages of this unit, I can only have 1 of them, and I can only have 1, and they are 78 points. If we could have 2 of these, this would be brilliant. To stick a commander in there, or your CNC into that veteran African spearman unit, will really hurt your enemy, or your enemy medium foot. But unfortunately, if it gets anywhere near the rough terrain, it can fight its own, but will struggle eventually. So keep that in the centre of your army, ready to hit through the centre and take the fight to your enemy. So looking again to the next, as we know, the Carthaginian nation, brought allies from Spain, Gaul, and all Europe. We have a couple of close order warbands we can have. 58 points, reasonable price. I describe warband units as a glass hammer. If you use them in the correct manner as an impact unit to smash that medium infantry up, they can do really well. But also the undisciplined troops will just keep pushing through their line, charging and causing havoc and making openings for your more stable foot to engage through. As you can see, there's a big block of 720 men there. Undrilled, heavy foot, so that the turning circle is not going to be great unless you're in the command radius at the start of the game. Like I mentioned before, the large artillery, it has its targets. If they had large artillery, they could be targeting this unit and taking massive casualties there. Of course, the average quality makes them okay. They're still up there. They are protected. They've got Waffe armor, and we come down to impact swordsman. So that POA there for the charge, but also the swordsman POA. Mwah. Like I said, glass hammer, a unit must have for this nation and faction, but still, if they get flanked, they will drop and they will flee and they will take everybody with them. So coming down to the backbone yet again, the African spearmen, just one step down from the veterans. They're not armoured, they're not superior, but they are the stable rank and file for the army. I'm going to have to select all that for the thing. Of course, the mercenary hoplites, as we know, lots of mercenaries join the Carthaginian army from all around the world. These are probably Greeks, come to help us. A really good stable unit. Unfortunately, the disadvantage is, well, two disadvantages, but they kind of help each other. Heavy foot, which is good against medium foot, but can't really adapt onto the rough terrain. They are protected. Average is fine with me, but offensive spearmen, good POAs again. Put them on a hill, keep them protected from being shot up. They will hold the line for you for a long time. But unsupported, just like anybody else, they will start to crumble and be taken down. So we're coming down to the medium foot of the Carthaginian army. So it's nice to see the Carthaginian army at the same time. You can see now they have a good selection of medium foot, heavy foot, and what we're going to look at, medium foot. So we have some Spanish, which are about 500 men, medium foot. They do take lots of cohesion checks against heavy foot. So if this Syracusan army does have heavy foot, it is going to be a bit tricky. These guys need to be sat back in some rough terrain, on a hill, defending a location, or just in reserve, ready to drop flanks in or run behind the enemy line, or just to be there taking up zone of controls of your enemy. But they are impact and they are swordsmen, so two really good things. As you can see, they are slightly more expensive than the other medium foot units in the Carthaginian list. I think I would rather choose them if I can afford them. And we come down to the Italian foot, literally very similar, but unfortunately they are light spear, not impact. So for the charge there, they probably would not work as well. And then we come down to the Phoenician style foot. As you can see, the protected, they are not as good, unmaneuverable as well. As you can see, the quality is certainly dropping as we go down to the list. And the Ligurian foot, lightly protected, even worse. If I was desperate and I needed some troops just to sit behind the line as extra bodies, I think I would choose them. And as we come down to the bottom of the Carthaginian list, good slingers, one slinger unit, one arch unit, and we could choose up to four, one pre-selected, but four in total javelin. Always worth having the slingers. So there we go. It is a solid list. Unfortunately, the cavalry does concern me a little bit, but also the quality of some of our heavy foot units are standard and not, we've got one good unit. But I think in combination, it's the combinations of the heavy foot, medium foot, the quality, you keeping your solid line. But I think we've got enough here. So we're gonna chuck some units down and see what we like. So if I was when I'm going to be choosing this game, the tournament game when I do play it, so we definitely have to choose the veteran. As you can see, terrain is a massive factor. Looking at dividing all the battlefield into squares, as we can see, we've got a good hills to the left. Like I said, some of the medium troops may hold the line if given a right circumstance, like a hill, like some rough terrain, like a 200 hill here, a 200 hill here, and a 100 hill. Issue is with the 200 hill to the right, it's far away. I think closer to the enemy line than it is to my line. So I might hang back here and hide in some of this rough terrain. But this rough terrain pays a double whammy. Unfortunately, it's affecting my cavalry, but also my chariots. But yeah, okay, we're going to slap some units. So I'm going to have to choose, I think, 4 units in total. So we're going to have both cavalry units, the armoured and the armoured veteran unit. We'll turn these around in the middle of the game. So there we go. We're going to have 1 chariot each. So we're going to have a mix Of course, what I like to do next is select all the lights. We're going to need all the lights here as much as possible to shoot down. So we just have an even spread, but we'll put them in the correct battle groups at the end. So we want to use this rough terrain to our advantage, just in case he charges forward with a volley with his cavalry. So as you can see, we're going to choose now all of the African spearmen, because they're a godsend. And of course, what I want in the centre is I want the units that are going to stand. The cavalry and the warband units are going to do the smashing, which are 58 points. Pricey list. You see, this list seems to be either really high or really low. I don't. There's the 30-point units aren't particularly good, and I'd rather go Spanish. So I think I can go 2 Spanish units here, which need to find this rough terrain. So I'll be tempted to chuck both heavy foot units to the left and two Spanish to the right. So these can at least sit somewhere and cause some havoc. But if they've got medium troops, it will be just whatever POA advantage I can give them. So with 40 points left, choices are running low. So we're going to go with an Italian squad, which is just going to sit behind our flanks, ready just to fill in where the things. So that I think that's a solid list. I think that's solid. It's what I would choose in the tournament as well, or something very similar. As you can see, we've got a good mix of mediums, more protected by the heavy foot, because this is a very rough terrain battle on the right side. Very interesting. So that's fine. I think that's all we can do really there, and we're going to go and look at the opponent's game. Before we do that, let's assign our general. So our CNC is in there. So what I might do is just chuck our CNC to the right a little bit. We're going to open another command group up here, and then we're going to chuck everybody on this left side, or near enough into the left side there. And they've got their command group. And then what we'll do, we will chuck these into here. So remember, chucking everybody in command groups will improve their movement at the start of the game, that we are able to pivot them. So if I was starting the game here, these guys would turn to the left, the chariot would to the right. I think what's going to happen, the cavalry and chariot's going to slip through here, the cavalry will slip around here, and this is where the main battle is going to be fought. We've got an advantage here with a lot of the hills and rough terrain. So join me in a second when we're going to look at our opponents. So here we are looking at these Syracusan forces. So this is going to be interesting because I don't think I'm as familiar. It's going to be an interesting mix of light and heavy troops, just as the Carthaginian. As we can see, we are at a negative here. Remember, terrain is always going to be a factor. You've got to analyse your terrain. And like I said when I was deploying the Carthaginian forces just a moment ago, I'm closer to this hill than he is. So this could be a battling point on this hill with medium foot. So we're going to be looking around here. Like I said with the Carthaginian forces, the Syracusan forces have a lot of cavalry. The Carthaginian force will be lacking. So as you can see, we've got 2 choices of veteran armoured cavalry. We could have 4 units of cavalry here, 2 armoured, 2 veteran, or 2 armoured veteran, 2 armoured cavalry, which is a good selection. Very impressed that we get 4 units there. Probably would outperform the chariots within a good point if we can dominate them and get them into the right position. As we come down, they've got light javelin troops, so we've got anti-harassing cavalry forces. I use these light javelin troops to run forward, find a unit that I want to weaken down at the start of the game, and start chucking javelins as long as they've got ammo. Of course, we spoke about heavy artillery. I don't think there is a place for it in this force against the thing. It's going to be a mobile war. I think the battle is going to be fought all over this hill or on the opposite side, so the Carthaginians will be safe from that. Coming down, we have the choice of some superior offensive veteran hoplites. Now this is the backbone of my army now, it is the hoplite. We are now able to bring, I think they would be slightly on par, no, there'll be negative POA against the veteran African spearmen. As you can see, we are not armoured, we're protected, so we are negative POA there. The veteran African spearmen would slightly better on even keel. We're getting plus 100 for the offensive spearmen, but they are as well, so it's a nil point at the moment in time. As we come down, we're able to choose the glass hammers, I called the warband. 2 solid units there, but unfortunately It's going to be interesting them fighting the African spearmen, and I think we would come on top there. And as you come down to the mercenary hoplites, slightly better than the, I think actually it was the same as the African spearmen. So we got very, very similar forces here. And then we come all the way down to the citizen hoplite, unmaneuverable, but they are a big body of men. Remember, the size of the unit will be affected here and there, so it'll be interesting to see in the deployment where we can deploy them. And then we come down to a lot of the medium troops here. We got more Spanish, 42 points. The impact is going to be very similar forces, but of course some of the heavy troops are slightly different or slightly better just for the Syracusan forces. Okay, we come down to Italian foot, which is exactly the same as the Carthaginians are able to choose, and something new, irregular foot. If I have to, we would choose these, but unfortunately there is no need in this battle for the irregular foot. We have slightly better medium foot here that can hold and deliver on some rough terrain. As we come down to raw hoplites, unfortunately they are good apart from the quality. Unfortunately, raw is something that I don't want. If they drop, a lot of the raw units next to will drop as well. If I have to, I will choose them, but I think we can get away with not having them. So we come down to Greek pellets, so just some more javelin troops, archers, light javelin. So like I said before, we're going to select all of the lights we can, and of course the light cavalry. So what we're going to do, as you can see here, we're going to stick two of the units cavalry on the left and right. We want one armoured, one veteran. And then exactly on the same, because we know where we deployed that with the forces. So of course we want the two light javelin horses, providing a good area of hitting them with javelins. I want to go after his cavalry. I want to go after his veteran cavalry there, because it's going to be interesting. So what we're going to start at the top, we're going to go with our two veteran units. So we just need to displace some of these units. So I think we'll have them on the outside there. You see, we want to get on top of this hill. That is a 200 height hill, but we're going to need some Spanish. We're going to need some medium foots that are able to jump in there and get on that top of that rough terrain to cause some havoc. It's going to be interesting. Of course, the warband, yet again, we're going to have to stick the warband on the flanks. I think this will be, looking at the field here, we'll be attacking on the left, defending on the right. That's what I think it is. So I think what we'll do, we'll swap the citizen hoplites to the right side. There's a lot of rough terrain to that left still though. So I think we're going to deploy one more over. And we've selected all the Spanish, so we're going to have to select some more Spanish, more Italian foot. So we've got plenty points left. Remember, the chariots took a big proportion of the Carthaginian army up here. So the Syracusan forces, it's going to be interesting. I think mercenary hoplites seem the way to go, but we've got to be careful. The flanks, it's going to be all about the flanks. And I think the rest of the points is going to be citizen hoplites. I don't want to get flanked on this right side. And of course, we do need something that's going to fit. And I think we may have just enough points to have another veteran, another medium foot, Italian foot. So there we go, and we're able to select our general. Our CNC is in the veteran hoplite unit. We're going to create our own command group to the left, which will consist of the warband. The Syracusan forces are very good here. They've got more light, but they've got more heavy foot, so it's a mixed matched force here. I want to say the Carthaginians are slightly on top here, but please post below if you think the Carthaginian forces are better or worse. So there we are. Apart from probably checking some of these checking these into there, which we can do. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, always check your terrain. We're going to end that there. So as I said before, we are very close to this here. If we were just to end this turn, because I know we are playing hot seat, we would be able to probably in 1-2 turns be able to jump on this terrain. Remember, terrain is always going to be a factor in here, and I think the Syracusan forces would be able to get on top of this hill before anybody else. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was a quick analysis of the Carthaginian forces and the Syracusan forces. I do apologise for my pronunciation there. Looking at the both pros and cons, they've got a good mix matched of mediums and heavies each. The Syracusan forces have slightly better cavalry and slightly better anti-cavalry light troops like the javelin horse, being able to harass the heavy chariots. Very similar on light troops. Carthaginian having that veteran African spearman unit that could really pull the bag out, but it's a very mixed match. I do like it. I do like it. So I think depending on the terrain type that is chosen for the first round, it will be certainly interesting. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, to click that like, follow Slivering Games, follow me on YouTube, and of course we'll see you on the analytical look at the round 2, which will be coming up hopefully very soon. And have a great day, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you on the battlefield.